Welcome to another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jane Simon. Grab your popcorn, your beverage of choice, glass of red wine, cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee. Don't forget the Kool-Aid for the kids. Call your mama and your papa, your grandmama and your grandpapa. Call your aunties and your nellens, your nieces and your nephews, your brothers and your sisters, your neighbors and your friends. Let them know that Simon Says is on. Buckle up, we'll be right back. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode. Welcome back. Welcome back. Now, we have gasoline issues, right? There's a big jump in the gasoline price from last month, from March to this month, April. Um, Barrel price jumped from 70 something dollars to $110. That's USD per barrel, right? As a result, the government of Grenada had to cap the gasoline at the pumps at $17 per gallon. $2 increase from where it was capped at the with the former administration. It was capped at $15 per gallon. Announced in the 2021 um, announced in 2021 for the 2022 budget, a move made by the former administration to help cushion the effects of the spike in gasoline prices. Today, we have people defending that. The fact that it was 15, it was capped at 15, they removed it and they bring it to 17. And we have folks defending that. Even with the rise in inflation, food, services, rent, utility, huh? How could you defend something like that? I mean, geez. In last month, probably would need my glasses here. Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, we had gasoline. The old price was $13.93, and it went up to $15.18. Right, $1.25 increase. Diesel, $14.35. It went up to $16.11, $1.76 increase. Kerosene, $10.45, and it went up to $13.10, $2.65 increase. Now the LPG, the cooking gas, the 20-pound cylinder, of course, remains the same for now. It is capped at $40, and that has been over a decade now, right? It started with the Tillman Thomas NDC. NNP came in 2013, and they kept it to 2022. And this NDC administration so far has kept it to well, I don't know till when, but they have kept it, right? So the 100-pound cylinder, the old price was $253.20. It is now $319.60. That's a lot of money for the 100-pound cylinder. You get in what, a good seven of the 40-pound cylinder bottles with that money for one cylinder, right? $390.60 is a lot of money. I said before that the persons using those cylinders are not all millionaires, are not all rich folks, and so something has to be done about that. Now, for this month, April the 18th, as of April the 18th, gasoline $15.18. That was last month. It is now capped at $17. I understand it was some $20 per gallon, but it's capped at 17. The diesel, the same, it's 16.11 and it's capped at 17. And so is kerosene, capped at 17. All three capped at 17. The 100-pound cylinder it's now $350, and the 20-pound remains the same at 40. Folks, we all know, yes, there is a war there and other things that are causing this, but that's why we vote in governments, legislators, and executives, so they know how to demolay, as the old people would say, and to so that they can cushion the effects for the people. Lest we forget, as soon as the NDC took office, a mere 3 months after they came into office in 2022, they removed the cushion the former administration had on electricity. The former administration had a 25% deduction on the non-fuel fuel rate of electricity. The 25% decrease per kilowatt in the non-fuel charge was reinstated, and the taxes that was removed. The former administration had removed all tax on electricity because the tax had put there by the government. So they can remove it. And the electricity company belongs to us as well, right? So they did. And this NDC administration reinstated it. They put it back on, right? In September, on the 9th of September to be exact, of 2022. Those reliefs on electricity charges was put there in January of 2022. Since then, Grenlec has increased their fees twice and is threatening to do so again a third time. According to Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, the line minister for Grenlec, dividends for shareholders has been affected. And basically, the shareholders need their money. But we are shareholders as well, we the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Here is Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell.
Government is not the only shareholder of Renwick. There are other small shareholders, and I don't know that a small shareholder of a company will agree to the majority shareholder running the company in such a way that the company makes a loss, and the small shareholder is deprived of the benefit of earning a profit on his investment.
As usual, the minority, the bougie, the little ones who could afford it, they're the ones who benefited because they're in minority. The masses, we are shareholders as well. Then in opposition, and as leader of the NDC party, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell called for food items to be zero rated.
He also asked that the following items be zero rated: soap powder, baby and adult diapers, sanitary napkins, toilet paper, peas and beans, bathing soap, packet rice, smoked herrings, sardines and mackerels, and salted meats like pig snout, salt beef, and pigtail. These basic items are used by all Grenadians, and they are a staple in the case of the food items in many of our diets. We are therefore calling on the government to zero rate those items for VAT. As you know, the VAT rate on these items are 15%, which is a significant percentage, and we are asking that those items be zero rated in the first instance.
So you had the list that he wanted zero rated meats, and so he said basic items that we use every day. The Prime Minister came into office in 2022, in June of 2022, and then he had his own list. Meatless, rice, no rice, you know. His list was peas and beans and oil and soap. He had a few soaps as well, right? Now here is the exemption list rated items from the former administration in January of 2022. That's for budget 2022. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the VAT, that VAT is already removed on most basic food items such as rice, flour, sugar, bread, ground provision, vegetables, and fish, government will exempt VAT on an additional 5 items effective January 2022. Salt fish, turkey parts, vegetable cooking oil, cheddar cheese, and split peas. Now, even though the now administration, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, had asked for meats to be on that list when he was, let's say, opposition leader, we'll call him that, right? Though there was no opposition. He was calling for that. You got into office, you would expect that the things you were asking for will be on your list, right? But no, a supply of the following items as may be purchased in regulations. Soya chunks. Soya chunks. I don't know how many Grenadians eating soya chunks daily, right? Veggie patties. Again, that's something that his daughter might like. So it's on the list. Veggie patties. And then we start with the oils. Olive oils, canola oils, soya bean oil, sunflower oil, coconut oil. Why do we need all these oils? Zero rated. Why? Then he starts with the beans and the peas. Right? Red kidney beans, black eyed peas, lentil peas, hand sanitizer, adult diapers, toothpaste, bathing soap, uh, bathing soap, laundry soap, sanitary napkins, and condoms. Could you imagine? Where the salt meat that he was asking for, and the smoked herring, and the rice. Nothing, no carbohydrates, no flour, of course, no sugar. All we have is beans and peas, oils and soaps. No rice, no meats, no potato, no ground provision, no salt meat, no smoked herring, no salt fish. At their post-cabinet briefing early March, that was the second one after 3 years, the Attorney General, Cindy Daughter, hosted that post-cabinet. And when asked about the high cost of living and what her government, her administration will do, or is doing, or will be doing, or plan on doing to cushion the effects, this is what she had to say.
I would like to know, is there any measures being considered to combat the high cost of living of goods and services in Grenada?
That one would perhaps be more for the Ministry of Finance, but as representative of the government here and the Cabinet of Grenada, I would say yes, already we have in place as of 2024, we zero rated over 20 essential items, including grocery, foodstuff, and toiletries and sanitary items. We implemented $10 discount on electricity bills below a certain quantity of kilowatt usage. I think it's 90. I'm speaking from memory now. We have maintained and subsidized the price of cooking gas, the 40-pound cylinder. We have, to ease the burden on parents, we have instituted the free meals program in school, so that parents do not necessarily have to pack a lunch kit every day to send their children to school. They get the meal free, and before there used to be a fee charged for the meals in school. We removed that fee. We also removed the tuition fee, $850 or so for people going to NULO, TAMCC and NULO. So all of these cumulatively were meant to ease the cost of living for people. And together with all of those things, our ministry, led by our ministry, the government increased the minimum wage. So we give you all these breaks in terms of the cost of goods and services that you regularly consume, including for sustenance and education. And at the same time, we increased the minimum wage. And at the Division of Labor, I must say, we were quite rigorous in ensuring that the minimum wage, the new minimum wages were complied with. I think we have pretty much settled down. It was a little rugged in the first year, but we have pretty much settled down, and we have, excuse me, we have all employers now complying with the new minimum wages. And of course, in the last 3 years, we had salary increases for the period 2022 to 2026, and some fringe benefits that the union themselves, then President Grimes himself, said is the best fringe benefit package ever for public workers, and similarly for teachers. And now we enter into a new period where we've maintained those benefits, and also the general rate of salary increases. So from our end, we are doing as much as we can to ease the burden. But let us be realistic in Grenada, given the state of global affairs. We have the war between Russia and Ukraine that remain sustained over the last 5 or so years, that affected significantly the cost of goods and services and imports in Grenada. We now have a new war taking place between the US and Iran. We also have had heightened tensions and a significant change in our real circumstances here, right in the Caribbean region, where some Caribbean leaders have openly declared that we are no longer a zone of peace. So things have changed and may get worse with the price of gas going up and so. So we encourage our people as well to be conscious of that, to engage in activities that can help with your own sustenance and that of your families, such as backyard gardening, conserving the use of energy and water and those types of utilities. So you save as much as you can serve as much as you can, and of course, you try to.
She spoke about the zero rated items. She actually spoke about the oil and the beans. If we're not careful, we're going to have malnutrition in this country, right? Maintain and subsidize the 40-pound cylinder. Why would you count that? Why? We have instituted the free meal program. You are counting that as a cushion? So those of us who don't have children in school, what happened to us? We're not part of this country. We're not paying taxes as well. And that is not no cushion. What are you talking about? And they used to pay a fee. Yes, they used to pay $1, and the kids used to get food to eat. You remove the dollar, and they can't get food to eat. They can't get breakfast, they can't get lunch. When they do get is rice and chicken, and the next day is chicken and rice. No nutritious meals, right? I can't believe. Better you had stopped when you said, this question is not for you, it's for the Minister of Finance. But you tried to answer it and went digging to the bottom of the barrel and come up with these flimsy, I don't know how to call it. Those are cushions. Remove the tuition fee and nulo antam CC. So who is benefiting? When most of the kids can't go to school because they can't pay transportation, buy the equipment and the materials for school, it's much more. It's coming up to be much more than what the tuition is, right? And again, what happened to those of us who don't have kids or children at TAMCC and NULO? All of those was meant to ease the cost of living, she says. When you were doing that, you were checking on cost of living? No, right? Together with those, we increase the minimum wage. So what about persons who was not on the or was already getting the $1,200 that you brought the minimum wage to? What about those people? And above that, they don't pay taxes. You sit down there and extempo, make up a whole story about about cushioning the effects. Eh? And how about the ones using the 100-pound cylinders? That is $350 a cylinder now. How about those folks? Aren't they taxpayers as well? You realize she was extemporing and she rapped. And then she remember they increased the minimum wage. So she just add that in there. This is what we have to put up with. That has nothing to do with cushioning the effects of high cost of living. Imagine you remove the 25% deduction and you put back all the taxes, and then you proudly saying that you have a $10 deduction. $10 in electricity. I think after 90 kilowatt, $10. And you're proud about that. The school feeding program is a failed program. Imagine you trying to use that to talk about cushioning the effects of cost of living, a failed program that is scraping the bottom of the barrel. The rise in minimum wages. Folks, these people have no plan. They don't know which road to take when they're at a junction. People hungry. And their VAT exemption is oil and beans. Added to that, you added back to sugar, increased taxes on water and electricity, property tax, driver's license. You have actually added taxes instead of cushioning the effects. The removal of the 150 on the seed program that the NNP administration had added as a way of helping out the people on the seed program. We can't continue to go down the road like that. A simple thing like that, you guys can sit down and get it together. Come and talking shit about the school feeding program and Tamsi. What? I'm embarrassed for you, lady. Now, every week we must have something on Project Polaris unless they answer us. We need some answers, right? But today I have to ask for the project sponsor, Ms. Andrea St. Bernard. Where is the project sponsor that was fluffing all over the place and grinning from ear to ear? Where is Miss St. Bernard? Since we broke the news here on Simon Says, Miss St. Bernard seemed to have disappeared, hiding behind the media. What happened to all the fluff, the ads, the explanations every time you pull your phone? Miss St. Bernard pops up or popped up in a GBN news item. Not even her face was shown. Not a word from Miss St. Bernard. It's like rat ate her tongue or cat ate her tongue. Not a word from the so-called project sponsor. Since the breaking of news on the companies, Partners for Development Incorporated Inc. and the Asset Bank Company Limited. Now, for all those of you who were not following Simon Says or did not see that episode, we uncovered the fact that 84 acres of land bought by the government of Grenada, or so we were told, was in fact bought by a company called Grenada Asset Bank Limited from a company, Grenada Real Estate Corporation. The 84 acres bought put the so-called Project Polaris to build it on at Calavini Estates. We also found that the Prime Minister and his project sponsor, Andrew St. Bernard, are directors of another company, Partners for Development Incorporated Inc. That they bought a piece of land from the same company, Grenada Real Estate Corporation, also bought lands at Calavini Estate, 3 acres of land worth $1.5 million, 3 acres and 6 poles, $1.5 million. The mortgage they got from the said vendor, the same real estate company. The Attorney General made an unofficial post on Facebook, and now the project sponsor, Andrea St. Bernard, came out and spoke on JBN News on behalf of the government of Grenada. But she's missing in action. She's missing in person. Needless to say, she repeated to the media the same exact thing Simon said. We told you about the company, the law firm of the Prime Minister doing the legal work for the vendor. And then he had his chief of staff doing some of the legal work, and it went between the both of them. Accordingly, we never said it was illegal, but we asked questions and we want answers. Simon Says has been asking on behalf of the people, basically, who owns Grenada Asset Bank Company Limited? Who are the beneficiaries? Why was the company created to purchase the lands on behalf of the government of Grenada? Why couldn't the government purchase the lands on its own or in its own name? Several questions. There are more, but first let me share with you the interview with Ms. Saint Bernard on GBN.
Project sponsor for Project Polaris, Ambassador Andrea St. Bernard, is addressing concerns related to the acquisition of land for Grenada's future General Hospital and Hopevale Medical City. While improvements in healthcare are widely welcomed, some members of the public have raised concerns about aspects of Project Polaris, including the acquisition of 83.9 acres of land in Calavini Estate. Conveyance documents show that 36 million Eastern Caribbean dollars in taxpayer funds were used to purchase the property now held by Grenada Asset Bank Company Limited, or GABL. Speaking on behalf of the government, the project sponsor confirmed that the lands identified for Project Polaris were acquired from a private landowner in November 2023 through GABL. She explained that GABL was established to hold strategic assets linked to priority national development projects, including Project Polaris. The entity is entirely owned by the government of Grenada, and its directors include senior public officers, among them the permanent secretaries within the Ministries of Finance, Agriculture and Lands, and Legal Affairs. According to Ambassador St. Bernard, the conveyance was reviewed by Mitchell & Co. on behalf of the private landowner and not the government. Research shows that Mitchell & Co. is the law firm founded by the current Prime Minister before his entry into politics. She also explained that a separate land purchase by the non-profit company Partners for Development, Inc. from the same vendor is unrelated to Project Polaris. St. Bernard emphasized that all aspects of the acquisition were in keeping with established legal procedures and that the relevant records are available to the public.
You didn't tell us nothing we know. I didn't know it was on. The only thing there was that it's a non-profit company. When did that happen? When did that happen? Ms. Saint Bernard, please tell us something we ain't already know. We also know that the PS in the Ministry of Agriculture that you speak of is no longer a public servant. He has retired. Maybe a good couple of years now as well. Right? He's no longer a public servant. So what happens there? What now? We the people want to see the shared agreement. Let the people see who owns the shares of the Grenada Asset Bank. No one said the 3 acres deal was done illegally, but tell us what the kickback is for. We know you legitimize the 3 acres given to you. And then when I say you, I'm meaning here you and Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. Yes, we know everything was done legally correct, but explain to us why you purchasing lands without monies and the vendor has to lend you the money to purchase his own lands. This is not sitting right with the people. Was that just for our benefit, the people to feel you purchased the lands? Or was that a gift, a deed of gift? So, what is the benefit that you got? And I'm speaking to the vendor now. What is the immediate benefit that you got? To the Prime Minister and Andrea St. Bernard, are you all really paying a mortgage to Mr. Nichols for the 3 acres of land with 6 pools? This is looking more and more like the clearing of a kickback transaction. You're a lawyer. Come explain this for us. Come explain this for the people. Additionally, for all the transactions I have come across with this Grenada Real Estate Corporation selling lands, Partners and Development Incorporated is the only entity they've given a mortgage. No one else has acquired lands through a mortgage from that said company. Does the board of the Grenada Asset Bank Company Limited meet? Or the people on the board? The people would like to see the minutes of their meetings. Where are the financial statements of that company? Are they audited? Do they control the decision-making process? Can they be held accountable? What was their role in the sword turning? Are they only cannon fodders? Do they control expenditure? Do they have a bank account? What is its source of income? How do they account for all monies raised? Which minister of government do they report to? Who are the employees of the company? Do they have an office? If so, where is that office? What is their organizational chart? What is their annual budget? Do they have a business plan? Who signs on the bank account? Or is the Grenada Asset Bank Company Limited an elaborate sham? Moving along, the opposition in the parliament have hundreds of questions inside. Every now and then they get a little drip drip. Recently, they got a drip drip, and I have with me some of the questions, and it's The ink is very pale on this. The 6th of February 2026, Office of the Clerk of Parliament, Building, Mount Weldale, St. George's. Dear Clerk, please find below for the attention of the Leader of His Majesty's Opposition and the Members of Parliament and the Member of Parliament of St. Andrew South East and the Member of Parliament for St. Mark the response to the questions posed by these honorable members. Honorable Eminent Pale, Leader of His Majesty's Opposition, will ask the Prime Minister and Minister for National Security, Honorable Deacon Mitchell, the following questions. Question 1. What was the original cost approved for the renovations of the RGPF headquarters on the Carenage? B. What is the total amount spent to date? C. Who were the contractors engaged in the project? D. By the process, were there contractors selected? E. What qualifications, the experience or experience did each contractor have? Response by the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, Minister for Members for Parliament for St. David's and the Minister for Infrastructure and Physical Development, Public Utilities, Civil Aviation and Transportation. A. The original contract amount was $3,090,755.36. The amount spent to date is $5,619,060.19. Remember, I told you all, I heard somewhere that the overruns for that building was $2 million. Here it is, $2 million. Plus, the contractors engaged were Nixon Electrical Services, Dwight John, Grenada Construction and Decorative Finishers Limited, Lashington Services, and Cecil Patrick. A lot of contractors there. Shelter Solution. The contractors were selected using the competitive method of tendering. Due to the size and scope of the project, various specialist contractors worked in tandem. Honorable Emin Peer, Leader of His Majesty's Opposition, will ask the Minister for Infrastructure and Physical Development, Honorable Deacon Mitchell, the question number 1 of 2. What is the estimated cost and stipulated completion time of the Closure Land Slippage Project? Responses by the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, Minister for Member for the Parliament for St. David's and Minister for Infrastructure and Physical Development, Public Utilities, Civil Aviation and Transportation. A. The original cost of the project was $249,171.01. However, due to unforeseen ground conditions, a variation of $1,367,907.71 cents. More than $1 million, like $1.1 million more than the cost, the original cost. The cost variation includes additional retaining walls and storm water drains and realignment of the roadway. Well, we all know the story of the Closure Road and why we are where we are today. And it's still not ready. It's still not done totally in completion. The estimated project completion dated is May 2026. So we're already in April and we know it's not completed. So we need another timeline. Regarding the Cliff Road project, what was the original approved cost? How much has been spent thus far? What is the estimated cost to complete the project? What or who is responsible for the current delays? When is the work expected to restart? And what is the projected completion date? So of course, when this letter when the question was asked, it seemed here that the project, that was one of the hold up times when it was halted, right? And so, well, we know it start back, drip, 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 drip. Sometimes they have a few moments, but the issue really is finance. Cliff Road project, the original project scope was reduced as favorable soil, rock was found, and as a result, some retaining walls were eliminated. Additionally, some box drains were converted to slipper drains, giving a further reduction in the project cost. The original contract amount was $16,541,362.60. The cost of the works completed thus far is $4,510,831.38. The estimated cost to complete the project is $7 million. The current project delays are attributed to delays in the provision of the approved asphalt mix design from the contractor. Placement of the backfill material and the base course is progressing at a suboptimal rate. The heavy rainfall in November and December 2025 also contributed to the delays. The project was never suspended. However, progress declined due to labor forces, reduction of slow progress on the part of the contractor. The estimated project completion date for traffic is mid-February 2025. We're in April and there's no traffic there yet. The final project completion date is May of 2026. And that has not happened. As I said, we're in April. There are more. The print is very faded, and so I'll have to get that done better and come back to you with the rest of this question. Not much is some to Honorable Clarice Charles, which I think we dealt with on here already as well, but we're going to do that again. Now I want you to look at your screen. There's a photo of Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell and an African man on screen. Some of you might remember this photo if you were paying attention from the very beginning. You are looking at on your screen Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell and Tokyo Kwan Lorani, a Nigerian businessman, also known as Toxil and Warren. Lest we forget, Toxil Honorary in early July 2022 issued a press release with him and Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell in that photo you see there, claiming that Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell appointed him as an ambassador at large for Nigeria. Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell denied the appointment. Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell admitted to accepting a courtesy call from the gentleman, and a photo was taken with both of them. That photo was captured during the visit. Now, does that photo look to you as something captured or something posed for? Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell and I quote, this is the gentleman speaking now, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell and I'm quoting here, when I met the gentleman, I was not under the impression, nor did he convey to me that he was appointed as any diplomat. No, that is Prime Minister Mitchell speaking here, or Deacon Mitchell, let me make that clear. But Tokyo name showed up on a list of 89 diplomats whose appointments was nullified from the 8th of August 2023. Then in a notice published in the September 22nd, 2023 edition of the Government Gazette, signed by Roxy McLeish, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, listed the names of the diplomats. Consul Anwani and Warani was in that list. And that was a diplomatic list of appointments. His name was in that list, listed as an honorary consul with no jurisdiction attached to his name. Mysterious, right? So he was on, then he was off, then he was on again. But the Prime Minister said he knew nothing about it. Today, Tokyo is calling on Deacon Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada, to refund him his money paid to receive a diplomatic position he never received. On the 11th of July 2022, if you look on your screen, you'll see the receipt, US dollars 150,000 from Abuja, Nigeria, to the government of Grenada, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, St. George's, Grenada, for honorary consul for Grenada in Abuja. That's the receipt on your screen. That's the facts. The receipts don't lie. Now, according to Mr. Toshil, he was promised the appointment once the fees was paid up, 150,000 US dollars, which he paid And he never received the appointment. So he's asking for his money back. Remember the Polish case. Lest we forget, let's hear the story of the Polish man.
A gentleman of Polish origin applied apparently to be made ambassador at large on behalf of the citizens of Grenada. That gentleman was told, and it appears that the cabinet, the then cabinet, agreed to appoint the gentleman as ambassador at large. He was told that in order to do so, he needed to pay US $290,000 to the state of Grenada. $150,000 was paid to the state of Grenada, and there's a treasury receipt for it. Another $140,000 was paid to the new National Party South St. George office. Let me repeat that. $140,000 was paid, and this is in June of 2022, right before the elections. $140,000 paid to the new National Party South St. George office. We have the records. So since the cabinet conclusion said it was $290,000 to the state of Grenada, last time I checked, the Constitution does not establish the new National Party South St. George office as part of the state of Grenada. So my free advice now is that the new National Party South St. George office, or the new National Party for that matter, should kindly hand over to the state of Grenada. The $140,000 that magically found its way into your bank account. Now, I don't know who advised the Polish gentleman, but as a good colleague of mine said, this must have been Wagiti Bingo. And you clearly gambled and lost. The gentleman has been asking back for his money. The state of Grenada has no intention of paying back any money to anybody. But I also want to point out and give some free advice to the South St. George branch of the New National Party that you might have to pay back the man his money. But that is free advice. You could take it or leave it. Now, I'm making this point to say this is essentially trading in diplomacy. Or more specifically, trading in a diplomatic passport. This administration has put a stop to this. We will not do it. And it is wrong. It is as simple as that.
So, first of all, there was a cabinet conclusion that we never saw. The NNP was never made to pay the so-called money back to the government of Grenada, because we well know the diplomatic passports were sold for $150, and they got $150 in the treasury. So we never saw the cabinet conclusion, no matter how much we asked for the cabinet conclusion. There was no cabinet conclusion. And we never heard nothing about this Polish man and his money, and giving back his money, paying him back, and Wagiti Bingo and all that sort of thing. And that we would never do it, and it is wrong. And today, Talkhill is asking back for his $150,000. Who's paying him back? You see the receipt? The transfer was done. You promised him a position. He never got the position, and you took his money. The same thing you say you wouldn't do. $150,000 US dollars. Pay the man his money. Pay him his money. He said, because he was questioned, was it, you sure it was Deacon Mitchell and not Keith Mitchell? He said he'd never met Dr. Mitchell, only heard of him, but he's met the young Mitchell, Deacon Mitchell, the Prime Minister of Grenada, Deacon Mitchell, and he wants his 150,000 US dollars back since he never assumed the position. So we stay in Africa. We're going to Taraba and Ghana to see what it is. Our Prime Minister, what attracts him to those two states? In a release from the office of the Prime Minister, dated April the 15th, 2026, April the 15th, 2026, the Prime Minister, Honorable Deacon Mitchell, to undertake economic development working visit in Africa. April the 15th, 2026, St. George's, Grenada, Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell will travel to Taraba State, Nigeria, and Accra, Ghana, on April the 15th, 2026, to an economic development working visit. During the visit, the Prime Minister will participate in a series of high-level meetings aimed at strengthening bilateral cooperation between Grenada, Nigeria, and Ghana. Discussions will focus on priority areas, including human resource development, agriculture, health, and tourism. Prime Minister Mitchell will be accompanied by Mr. Trevor St. Bernard, Chairman of Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority, and the Deputy Chairman of the Grenada Development Bank, and Mr. Teddy St. Louis, Chief of Staff. The delegation is scheduled to return to state on Monday, April the 20th, 2026. In the Prime Minister's absence, Honorable Dennis Conwell would serve as acting Prime Minister. Now, so this is now, this April right here. But only 6 months ago, October 18th, 2025, to be exact, Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell and his delegation were warmly received by President John Dramani Mahama at a welcome ceremony and luncheon in Accra, Ghana on October 17, 2025. Both leaders reaffirmed their commitments to deepening cooperation across multiple sectors, including trade, health, education, transportation, and culture, while emphasizing the importance of South collaboration between Africa and the Caribbean. The visit marks another step forward in strengthening the ties that unite us, transforming shared heritage into shared opportunity and progress. Now, I read both of them because if you listen to them, they're basically saying the same things. So 5, 6 months ago, Prime Minister and a delegation went to both the same two states, Taraba and Ghana, right? For the same reason. That was in October of 2025. And now again, in April of 2026. The same basic reason. So nothing happened in 2025. What we did just party. Remember that trip? The hand holding and the partying and the dinner and the dancing up on the table, at the dinner table, having such a good time. 6 months ago. During the Prime Minister's visit, he would participate in a series of high-level meetings aimed at strengthening bilateral cooperation between Grenada, Nigeria, and Ghana. Discussions will focus on priority areas, including human resource development, agriculture, health, and tourism. The last time the Prime Minister visited Taraba State in Nigeria, he loved it so much he spent an extra day. Here is what we know about Taraba State. There is nothing of value to Grenadians that Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell can bring back from Taraba State. Only personal gains. And that's a fact. Money and trickery. Learn how to rig elections. Taraba politicians are known for rigging elections. Look on your screen. There's a flyer there. Read it. What have we gotten from those trips before, in October, and now? The Prime Minister is back. There was a post-cabinet briefing yesterday. MOU, most of them not worth the paper they are written on. To fool the gullible. Taraba State, Nigeria faces severe challenges. Life and prosperity, including persistent insecurity, extreme poverty, youth violence, agricultural setbacks, and health issues like high HIV prevalence, which collectively hinder development and the daily living. Security and insecurity, ongoing interests dominate the state's negative landscape, disrupting peace and economic activity. Farmer herder conflicts and banditry. These clashes destroys farms, displace residents, and cause deaths among women, men, and children, severely impacting farming, independent livelihood. Insurgency and militia activities. The state struggle to control these, leading to widespread fear where residents cannot sleep safely. Pockets of violence, issues like these threaten social and economic development across Taraba and Nigeria. Poverty and economic hardship. Taraba ranks among Nigeria's poorest states despite its large landmass. High poverty rate, 87.7% of residents live below the poverty line. The politicians rape the country, live well in riches, and the people live in poverty. They take from people, give to their politician friends, and leave their people hungry. Like Venezuela did with Maduro and Peter, 87.7% of their residents live below the poverty line, linked to the grievance, failures, unemployment, and insecurity. Infrastructure deflect, poor road conditions, limited healthcare, and education access exacerbates insecurity and underdevelopment. Social and youth issues, rising criminality among the youth, and child violence, incident of weapon carrying, stealing bags, snatching, and street fights are common. Health challenges, HIV/AIDS prevalence at 2.9%, affecting over 50,310 persons on treatment. Lest we forget, photos there on the screen of our Prime Minister in Taraba and Ghana in October of 2025. Now, here are photos of this visit. Enjoy, take a look. He is certainly enjoying himself. You realize he has to put on these clothes, like he don't know his identity. And wherever he goes, he has to put on the clothing, the culture. He has to carry the culture of wherever he is. Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell visits to Taraba State and Ghana both times in 6 months. His purpose, for the same reason, to deepen cooperation across multiple sectors, strengthening bilateral cooperation between Grenada, Nigeria, and Ghana. Altogether, human resource development, agriculture, health, tourism, trade, education, transportation, and the culture. In October of 2025, we were promised health professionals. We were promised nurses from Ghana and doctors from Nigeria, most of which are in a dismal condition in Taraba State, which is, and I'm speaking about the sectors, which is why we wonder, is Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell's visit to Africa official or personal? On his October 2025 visit, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell promised partnership with the Taraba State in helping to develop the state. Left one undone and promising to help develop one in foreign. Left Grenada undone and went to Taraba and promised partnership to help develop the state of Taraba. Let's hear our Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell.
The Prime Minister of Grenada, Mr. Deacon Mitchell, is on an official visit to Taraba State, and he is received by Governor Agbo Kefas alongside other officials of the state government, including federal lawmakers from the state. The visit underscores growing diplomatic and developmental ties with both leaders, emphasizing areas of mutual interest in trade and investment, tourism, agriculture, education, health, and sustainable development.
No African anywhere is strong.
Clad in the traditional Jukun attire, the Prime Minister expressed deep admiration for Taraba's landscape and promises partnership to develop the state.
The time has come for us to rewrite the 400 years of history that has kept the Caribbean and the African continent from trading, investing, and supporting each other in our economic development and economic development of our people.
In his remark, Governor Agbo Kefas rules out areas of broader collaboration and assures of result-oriented partnership.
We have so many to do together in the area of agriculture, tourism, culture, health, and every other aspect of development. So I believe that in our moments of brainstorming and discussing, we'll be able to iron out some of these things.
Later in the day, a gala night is organized in honor of the visiting Prime Minister. The governor took to the dance floor to display his dancing skills to the admiration of the audience. Governor Kefas emphasizes the importance of the partnership on job employment and technology transfer.
A future where Taraba and Grenada becomes model partners in cross-continental exchange, where our youth connect through innovations and our farmers learn from one another, and also where tourism will flow, culture will flourish, and our people will begin to make progress.
The Prime Minister appreciates the honor as he comments the approach to governance in the states.
The vision of your governor for your state is global. It is not just for Nigeria.
A memorandum of understanding is expected to be signed between the two leaders to commit to supporting each other in economic growth.
Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell came back, we'd have to say with nothing to show, because if he had something to show, he certainly didn't show it to us, right? Nothing from Taraba, and an MOU signed from Ghana for a commitment to export nurses to Grenada, a much needed relief on the state of Ghana, since they are unable to employ and keep on payroll their nurses. There is a crisis in Ghana. The Ghanaian nurses asking for fair wages and a safe environment, often simply wearing no personal protective equipment. Despite boasting over 120,000 nurses, Ghana has only 3.6 nurses per 1,000 people, according to Ethically Managing the Migration and the Recruitment of Nurses in Ghana Roundtable Report in 2023, organized by the Ghanaian Diaspora Nursing Alliance, with support from the Johns Hopkins School of Nursing and Institute for Policy Solutions International. This desperately is exacerbated by the exodus of Ghanaian nurses, with an estimated 7,000 departing Ghana in 2022 alone. Ghana's healthcare sector is facing a storm that could cripple its already fragile workforce. In a shocking revelation, 13,500 nurses were nearly sent home due to lack of employment opportunities, while 7,000 nurses unpaid. The current story: Ghana does not invest adequately in its nurses and midwives. These essential health workers feel nurses struggle to find jobs or end up in position where lack of pay, equipment, training, and staff make success and satisfaction unreachable. They burn out or they head out. You look on the screen, you'll see photos of the nurses, they protesting, and we'll put some articles on there for you to go in and read for yourself what's happening in both Taraba and Ghana. How many of you know that the Ghanaian nurses are already on island here in Grenada? And not just them, we were told by the Attorney General that we also have some doctors here as well from Nigeria. Our Attorney General, as she hosted the second post-cabinet briefing March 11th, 2026, this is where she revealed that the nurses from Ghana are already here on island, and so are a few doctors from Nigeria. But we don't know how many nurses, we don't know where they are, we don't know the arrangements. This is how we were told.
Is Grenada looking to change the arrangement with Cuba regarding the medical workers in light of what happened in Jamaica?
Right. So again, that really is a question would be more suitable for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or Health, because a lot of them, the medical brigade. But we know in Grenada we have enjoyed excellent relations with the government and people of Cuba for many years, and we are very close to them. They played a significant role in our development. They were the main builders of our international airport, for example. The Cuban medical personnel have been here for a lot of years. As I just alluded to, circumstances and tensions are different in the Caribbean now than they were a year and a half ago. And our Caribbean governments are under a lot of pressure, so to speak. We see it playing out. We will do what we can to maintain our cordial and fraternal friendship with the Cuban government and people and the American government and people, because the United States as well, we are very close to the United States. In terms of culturally, we probably have more Grenadians living in the US than living here in Grenada. And I think we are one of the Caribbean countries, it's documented, we are one of the Caribbean countries with the largest concentration of US citizens, mainly because of St. George's University residing in Grenada. So it's very important that we maintain good relations with all our friends.
Taraba, what exactly is Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell? His fascination with Taraba State. There are travel advisory against Nigeria, of which Taraba is one of the protest states with high crime. Travel advisory coming from the UK, Canada, and the United States. Travelers should exercise increased caution when traveling to Taraba State due to risk of crime, kidnapping, and terrorism. Due to these risks, many advisories recommended reconsidering travel to Nigeria, particularly to certain high-risk areas. Before traveling, ensure all necessary documents like a valid passport and visa are in order. Get travel insurance, stay alert to local conditions, and avoid late night travel. Travel recommendations. Exercise increased caution. Exercise a high degree of caution due to the potential for crime and violence. All this is in Taraba State. Avoid non-essential travel. Avoid non-essential travel to Nigeria, as some advisors list the country as level 3. Reconsider travel. Stay alert. Be aware of your surroundings in public places and monitor local news for any changes in the security situation. Avoid late night travel. Do not travel at night. Avoid all travel to the following regions due to the risk of terrorism, armed attacks, kidnapping, intercommunal, and sectarian violence, Taraba included. And this is the travel advisory from Canada. Taraba State is also one of the poorest states in Nigeria. Taraba has a high poverty rate, and in 2024, it was listed as having the lowest internally generated revenue among the top 10 poorest states. Contributing factors: the state faces challenges with underdevelopment infrastructure and security issues for communal clashes. Listen to a few comments on a talk show in Ghana after Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell promised to invest in Taraba State. Well, I'm not sure, and we're not sure if he is investing or if Grenada is investing. We were not told. We're hearing it from news items, and it's just crazy, right? One Paul Spot successfully wasted hashtag Grenada that has less GDP compared to Taraba State. Another one said millions of naira successfully expended, zero impact. Although I learned he also made promises to invest in Taraba, just like Dr. Kifas. That's their president. Then this one says, a country with not more than 140,000 population. What does he have to invest here? Another says, another billions spent on visit that has no value to common Taraba State. They're complaining. Grenada doesn't have anything to offer Taraba. Taraba don't have anything to offer us. They're wasting money in Taraba to entertain Prime Minister, because you know when you have to spend, and the people are complaining. This one says, what impact does his visit bring to Taraba? And put a laughing emojis and a hand knocking the head. In Taraba, they are killing out Christians. Hundreds of thousands of Christians are being killed. In summary, the Taraba State suffers from economic hardship among security issues, lack of expenses with international collaboration, and defects in human capital, agriculture, health, and tourism. So what is it that attracts our Prime Minister to Taraba State? It must be personal. It must be personal. Our Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell left Grenada, flies approximately 5,000 miles to Nigeria, and approximately 50,000 US dollars later. They never tell us all who is going on the trips. I see all kind of people posting in Nigeria this trip. This time, attorney at law Trevor St. Bernard is on the trip. The last of the boys, if you look on the screen, you see the photo. Now, Mr. St. Bernard is the one in the middle. So now you're familiar with all the boys, right? He is the one in the middle between William Baptiste and Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. Attorney at law Trevor St. Bernard, the man in the middle, he is the chairman of the solid waste, the board of directors of solid waste, and the deputy chairman of Grenada Development Bank. Was part of the Prime Minister's entourage to Africa to attend a fishing festival in Taraba State. Now, quite recently, I've shown you those photos. I'm going to show you again of Mr. St. Bernard and Ambassador Richard Nixon or Richard Peters, whichever one he chooses to use at whichever point, right? There they are, coming back from Africa in a private jet. You guys ever wonder why the Prime Minister and his friends almost always never return from Africa in a commercial flight, with a commercial flight? Always, almost always, with a private jet. Just me being curious, just me being curious. The Prime Minister returned to Ireland Tuesday, the 21st of April 2026 at around 5 a.m., a private flight direct from Nigeria to Grenada, not stopping off and changing flights in the UK. Straight to Grenada. The president of Nigeria is Ebola, who's a Nigerian and is in good health, chose not to attend the fishing festival in Taraba State. The president of Nigeria did not attend the fishing festival in one of his own states, Taraba State. He sent his Minister of Art and Culture to represent him, which is normal and appropriate for a cultural activity. The president of Ghana, who's a neighboring country, did not waste his citizens' money to attend the fishing activity either. He sent a minister on special duties. But our Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, with an entourage, thought it necessary to travel approximately 5,000 miles from Grenada to Taraba to a fishing festival. From Grenada to Taraba State, Nigeria, add a 30% miles for actual flight pattern mileage because there are no direct commercial flights. But when Grenada and Taraba are typical travel route would involve multiple stops. Segment 2, flight from Morris Bishop International Airport to a major hub like London, New York, or Toronto. Segment 2, flight to NAMID International Airport in Abuja, Nigeria. Segment 3, domestic flight to Jalingo Airport or a multi-hour drive to reach Taraba. Question: what are we getting or have gotten for the cost of this? A visit from a cultural dance from Taraba in May. How? Oh, okay. In that, all Taraba can offer us is dance troupe, a visit from a dance troupe, was the use of our scarce financial resources necessary at this point in time. Do you know how many Grenadians, how many lives could have been impacted or could have benefited from the approximate 50,000 US dollars that was spent on that trip to Taraba or to Africa? And that's been conservative, the 50,000 US dollars. For the reward of a visit of a cultural dance group in May. Unless the Prime Minister went on a personal trip, a personal visit to Taraba State. What have we gotten from Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell and the NDC in almost 4 years? Over 66,000 social media postings and 63 flights from Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. That's what we have to show. And it's like he can't stay on the ground. When he stay here for a couple of weeks, he got to go. And no matter what it is and where it is, he and his entourage, they pick up and they leave. To close off, my friends, we have been seeing, and I'm sure most of you have seen, the Guankai story, the tale of the residents of Guankai. Now, Simon says is not picking sides, at least neither for the politicians nor for the residents. But I'm staying on the side of the law. Now, not sure what the whole thing is about and everything, but there are things you can look at and wonder, what's really going on here? It's just too tacky, too all over the place. And so this is national, right? This is national. Now, as I understand it, the Guanko Ridge, if you want to call it that, really has two sides and a middle, right? Over the past 2 or 3 years, I've heard a lot about Guankai, the road in Guankai, electricity for Guankai, water for Guankai. Before that, very little you would hear about Guankai, but a lot over the past 2, 3 years. On Sunday, March the 30th, 2025, just over a year ago, the Guankai Road that was completed. They had the cutting of the ribbon for the road. And Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell represented the MP for the area who apparently was away. So the Prime Minister cut the ribbon on behalf of the MP, who is the Member of Parliament for South, and he is Minister Andy Williams. Now, let's take in a little bit of the ribbon cutting.
What was once a dusty footpath for residents of Guankai is now a motorable concrete access road. The government, through the MP for South St. George constituency, Honorable Andy Williams, continues to make good on its promise of vital infrastructure development for various communities across the state. On Saturday, residents gathered for the official opening of the long-awaited access road, which was attended by Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell in the absence of MP Williams, who was at the time out of state. A total of 2,571 feet of concrete road was constructed over time.
Our administration prides ourselves on looking after a lot of the communities that have been forgotten, that have been marginalized, that sometimes gets reputations that they don't deserve simply because people are trying to take care of themselves, to take care of their families, and sometimes they do it without any support from anyone. So for communities like Guankai and many of the other communities which might have felt forgotten in the past, I want to assure you that under NDC administration, we are committed to working with you, to supporting with you, and to being in your communities. Not you coming to us, but we coming to you so that we can work together and partner together. And the construction of this road is just one of the ways of symbolizing our partnership with the people. We are here to work for and on your behalf. And so we are always happy to do the things that matter most to you.
Prime Minister Mitchell told the residents gathered that the job of the government is to meet the needs of its constituents, hence the investment in the completion of the Guankai access road.
I'm very happy to be here to be part of the commissioning of this road. And as I said, it's important for us as a community to support each other, to work together towards improving the health, the well-being, and the wealth of everyone. Sometimes we'll have differences of views, of opinions. It's for us to come together and air those views, talk about our challenges, and then agree on a plan forward so that we can improve our community. So I'm really, really happy to be here this afternoon. Congratulations again. And it shows that the power of one. And I want to say this to everybody. Sometimes we believe if we're in a minority that we can't make a difference. But if you look at the history of the world, it's written by usually one man or one woman. Jesus Christ, Martin Luther King, Morris Bishop, Sir Eric Gary, we can go on and on. So all of us have the power individually to make a change. So when your dad decided that he was going to start this, I'm sure he wasn't thinking about what would happen in the end. And of course, others have come, others have learned from his example, and we're here today. So especially for the young kids, don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't accomplish your goals or your dreams, because ultimately you are a great human being like all of the other great persons who achieve things. You just have to work hard, stay focused, and stay dedicated.
One resident of the area whose father began the process of opening the footpath expressed gratitude on seeing the realization of her father's dream and wish of residents to one day have a comfortable access to and from their homes.
This improvement will make a significant difference in our daily lives, ensuring safer and smoother travel for everyone in our community. A well-maintained road is more than just infrastructure. It connects us, supports local businesses, and enhances our overall quality of life. Your commitment to this project has shown your dedication to the well-being and progress of our community, for which we are truly grateful.
Residents expressed their joy through dance and drumming to have witnessed the opening of the road ahead of the 2025 rain season.
In a Facebook post, the MP, Andy Williams, announced next on our agenda for Guankai, water connection for residents, street lights, housing assistance. He didn't tell us, but he wrote to Grenlec as well to bring electricity to Guankai, but got turned down. Now, if I understand well, the same would happen with Nawasa. If you don't have title for your property, Nawasa will not connect you to their main, right? So, in essence, what is happening here, the administration, the government, is making the people of Guankai comfortable. And nothing wrong with that. They're squatting and they're getting roads because the road started but I think it was the New National Party under the MP when it was MP Alexandria Otway. And so they concluded the road. He's bringing water, he says. He's bringing it. He's trying to bring water. He's trying to bring electricity. And they're going to get proper housing. I have a couple houses that the ministry, MIT, built. If you look, you see them on the screen. Built in the squatting area of Guankai for persons, right? However, he managed to get Grenlec and Nawasa to put meters on Wall Street, as it is in that condition. This have seen the state of Wall Street. Remember, Wall Street was supposed to be getting cleaned up, and they were going to remove what and on all the drama. And why? Because they had guts and they had belly. Wall Street is in its worst state I've ever seen it right now as we speak, right? Remember, let's just forget.
And folks, let me just say something before I end. Some administration, they are afraid to take the tough decisions early. But we are not afraid. That is why our Prime Minister said he's going to transform Marketing Board. I understand the Lagoon Road. I understand the Lagoon Road was there to be worked on before, but they had no guts. They had no belly. I heard the Wall Street had to be, idea was being, was there for the Wall Street to be transformed, but they had no guts. They have no belly. Listen, we have belly and we have guts, and we are going to take the tough decision, right? And we are going to do it early. And you know why early? Let me tell you why early, right? Because some people would not buy into it early. But if you give them chance for them to see it and for the thing to materialize, then we will get buy-in.
Transform Marketing Board. Where is Marketing Board? Where is Marketing Board? Transform Wall Street, transform. We don't even hear about transformation anymore. And then we heard from Nawasa and its representative, Mr. Cox.
Wim Cox, Planning and Development Manager at Nawasa. So we're here at the Guankai site where Nawasa is planning an intervention to install some lines. The G-Cruise project has planned the installation of a 500,000 gallon storage tank up on the Guankai Hill, mainly to deal with the issue of the water shortfall for these high elevated areas in the south. Effective Monday, we want to start the mobilization of these for the pipe installation. So we're just on the ground here assessing the situation, myself, the GM, Minister, in terms of what's required and so on and so forth. So next week, Monday the 19th of August, we're going to start the mobilization of equipment, pipes, etc. and commence the installation of the line. And subsequently, the Minister and the team here is going to be resurfacing the road here at Guankai, so just to provide a better access to the area for the community, and also to assist us Nawasa with the traverse of materials for the construction of the tank as well. So that's what we here today looking into.
Question is, will the government of Grenada give the squatters of Guankai their titles for the lands where they are squatting on? Because according to Nawasal, or if you say the act, persons have to have titles to be connected. And as I understand it, if everyone on the hill is squatting, and I'm told everyone on that hill is squatting. Now, squatting is generally illegal. it is considered a form of criminal trespassing or illegal occupation of property without permission. Now, squatters can sometimes gain legal protection or squatters' rights, quote unquote, adverse possession after occupying the property for a specific long term, as spoken here by Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell.
Prime Minister the Honorable Deacon Mitchell is reminding the public of the government's stance on the unlawful occupation of Crown lands. In response to a viewer's question on DMs with PM, the Prime Minister explained the pathway for individuals to legally acquire land through the Land Tenure Regularization Program.
We will get to the point where there are persons who occupy government's land without permission, without any authority, and are doing so unlawfully, but have been there for a long time, and who may wish to make the case to get an opportunity to purchase or buy the lands from the government. And this is something we'll be prepared to consider. But we can't occupy lands illegally.
The Prime Minister explained the first two phases of the program, which was launched in May 2024.
It is starting first with persons who were authorized via cabinet conclusion to occupy and or buy land, and who actually paid for the lands but did not get their conveyances. The next step will then be to look at persons who are on the land and have a letter authorizing them to enter and take possession of the land, but who perhaps need to continue paying so that they can get to the point where they have the titles.
During a ceremony held in September, the government handed over 47 title deeds to the second cohort of Crown lands occupiers who completed payment for their lots. The ongoing program intends to strengthen land rights and provide a pathway to stability and economic empowerment. Reporting for GBN News, I am trainee reporter Deidre Seeley.
Thank you, GBN. Thank you. So as I understand it, there is a side at Guankai whose view is looking down on the limes, the Frequente, part of Point Celine, around by Point Celine Airport, I believe, Point Celine Hotel. Then there is the middle overlooking, or which road leads to the BBC area in Montrouge. And then there's the ridge with the view, the panoramic view of Grandans, the hotel belt, you know, the ocean, all out to Point Celine. Well, I guess you can see all down to St. George's, right? The same panoramic view that the Prime Minister is paying $20,400 for. That's the view on that side, on the ridge. So the Prime Minister really are neighbors to some of the squatters. I was told maybe about 200 yards away from the little settlement, the Prime Minister is there on that ridge. Now, information reaching me, there are a few squatters, I believe it's about, is it between 9 or 12 of them? They are on the ridge, right, where apparently it's forbidden. And they have claimed they knew nothing of the specific demand, right? There are no signs there to tell them, and you're squatting. So you see bush and you cut down the bush and you put up whatever structure you have. Some people squat by farming, which they have, as I understand, a couple of persons up there doing that. They're farming on the ridge. I mean, they have concrete structure was built on the ridge. And today, they are being told they have to remove the structure. You see, there are squatters all over on Crown lands, all over Grenada. And the Prime Minister said they're working on giving titles. And I understand what is being said about them overlooking the tourist belt. But I also understand that we just do not do things correct in the right way. We let it escalate and then we try to solve it. Right? Some of these people been there for decades. Yeah. For decades. The man built a whole concrete structure. There are neatly built wooden ones there. There are shaky looking wooden ones. The Ministry of MIT built structures on Crown lands, squatting, wooden ones. They were not told. Some of these people have been traversing the Ministry of Agriculture and Land back and forth when you hear their stories. Back and forth for years. For years. Here are some of them, a sneak peek of what some of them had to say to the GBN News.
Some occupants of property on Guankai Ridge are voicing their claims that they have received threats that their homes will be bulldozed by today if they fail to adhere to a notice from the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands to remove their structure within a 7-day period. On Wednesday, they sought the presence of the media to state their cases with hope that the Prime Minister or the relevant authority would hear their plea. The residents claim to have gone through the right channels with the hope of making payments, obtain ownership of the respective properties on which they have built.
Been here since 2016, according to my application, so I just crossed the 10-year. I wasn't at 10-year at that particular point in time. Application was submitted in 2022. I resubmitted it upon the instructions of Mr. Paul John. In 2025, went in to see the director, Mr. Skerritt, who didn't have any problem with me being here. And he said that his responsibility is to forward the document, right, to the cabinet for a decision. To date, no word since that document was submitted, no word since the first document was submitted, no acknowledgement.
Graham Abon, an insurance broker, said he has been occupying the property for about 10 years and started the construction of his home a few years ago.
This is a document that was delivered, signed by the permanent secretary. Right? On this document, if you can see closely, they didn't even get my name correctly. It was drafted on April 7th, right? And they closed by saying the 7-day period commences on the 7th. On Tuesday 7th, 2026. Let's say that's when it commences, right? That they didn't give a month. No, like I said, the reason why I'm here is because he came recently to say that we have 7 days that we should take our things and leave. How can I leave this? This is a permanent structure. And even considering there's instruction from the government, right, to regularize the land.
Graham is not the only one crying out. Makeda Bob says she did all that was required to get the property regularized. To date, she has not gotten any updates or on her submitted documents, despite numerous visits to the ministry. All she received was that letter from the ministry stating that she should move within a 7-day period.
And I have the document where I submitted and they say at the stamp at the bottom is received. So I'm just waiting, as he told the police, and he was saying that I submitted and I did everything, but I did not wait for a response. But I'm saying while you're here waiting for the response, people taking the spot. And they're sending people for the spot too. So to secure the spot, you have to be on the spot. All of us struggling in this life, and we want a betterment for ourselves and for our kids and everybody. So call us in, have a meeting with us, let us know where to go. You're telling us where to go, we're doing it, and then you're not responding to us. So we just lost. And then you bring in dread letters like these.
Nancy Thomas says all she is seeking is a comfortable space for her children. She says she has no alternative unless she's offered a structure elsewhere for her to move into.
Government to give us what is we own, even though they don't want us here, but still find somewhere. They could build somewhere and say, well, I'll build 2 houses, 3 houses, 4 houses, and I'm put all in there so they could get, how they say, the crown land. But as long as we don't get nowhere, we can't move, and I wouldn't move.
They are seeking some form of resolve to their situation before their homes are torn down. GBN contacted the Ministry of Agriculture for a response to the situation or to the claims made by the residents. However, up to news time, we have not received a feedback. Christina John, GBN News.
Now, those are some of the ones that are on the wrong side of the hill. According to the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, they are on the ridge overlooking the Hotel Belt side of Monroe, and there should be no squatting on those lands. I don't know, maybe put up a sign, something, so the people know that they cannot squat there, because sometime in September of 2025, I believe, the MP for the South, Andy Williams, had what he called a bus tour for his constituents to show them his achievement. And Guankai Hill was used as one of his achievements, right? He brought them up there to show them the new road and to show them where the water tanks would be erected, right? Which signifies the coming of water. Let's hear the minister.
Best drink in Gwankai. So we are Gwankai now. So we are in Gwankai. That's we did one of the roads and the street lights also. And we put in the water, the network for the water. Gwankai. So I'm doing that tank. I'm doing the tank. Hey guys, hey! I'm doing the tank. Erected on the hill. So the people of Gwankai will have access to running water. The whole village will have access to running water.
So what do they use now? How do they get water now?
There's water connection at the lower end, and they use rainwater up here. And if they can't get rainwater, then they buy water from Nawasa. And they buy water is like 150 a trip. 150 on that trip, last for a week and some. Yeah.
The view is really good up here.
Man.
Oh, the view.
Wonderful, wonderful. Wonderful. By the street right here. Yeah? Yeah, just stop.
So tell us again where we at for those who come in online.
Right. So we are at Guankai area. Right, we are at Guankai area. If you're not joining the live. Just,
Wait for me.
Morning, morning. You said that I'm coming back? Why are you all enjoying the tour with us? We do not follow the
Yeah, but you know I have a fault. I want
We don't come in. We honor it. Because other they could go down.
Let me tell you. You see this hill here?
If you don't want to go on, you don't
No, I want to go.
That's okay.
Right. So at the beginning, these people racing on top of me.
The racing?
The racing are loud,
Yeah.
especially in the evening time. And you have children living on the hill. And
So you see, now we have good roads up here. People are starting to race. People are starting to race up here in Guankai. You know, this road before was just mud and dirt. Now we have proper concrete road. But then you have people coming and just race solid, you know, and causing it, you know, to be dangerous for the students and so that, you know, the students that are here. So I think the residents are asking for a hump on this area so we can control the traffic in the area. Okay, you don't want know that you have good roads for someone to get bounced or accident to happen. Yeah? You good?
I don't know how. Yeah, short. Yeah, alright.
Come, all of this is Nancy. That's my friend. Don't mind hearing good.
That's a big NDC item.
That's what we just rule.
So Nancy, tell us what y'all are going to be doing with the tires that are here. The people on the live are asking.
All right, what we're going to do with the tires and Guankai, we go get a truck with some mold. As I say, I was going to the minister for you to give me a contract on the hill. The mold, we want to put the mold, we have some tire, we want to get some flowers and plants. So when the minister comes, you get a view and the beautiful of Guankai. So that's what we're trying to do. So that's what I'm saying. So that's asking the minister to give me the contract and to get some men, some those tires, and I'm trying to get some flowers, some plants. When the minister come on the hill, go say, that's what I want. That's Guankai.
The minister, the MP, he said as soon as the water tanks are erected, the whole village will have access to running water. Without title deed, Mr. MP, the former administration paid for water to put in the smaller tanks that they have. They would refill the tanks all the time for them with water. Now, the resident, Nancy, who was hugging up and loving up the minister there, and she was the one when GBN interviewed them that said she's not moving unless she get a place to go. Right, that one, that's Nancy. Nancy is living on the ridge. You want to tell me that Mr. Andy Williams, she said logically, she's NDC and don't know that Nancy is living on the ridge? And by the other by extension, the other residents. And I go back to the gentleman with the concrete structure. So the voice you hear interviewing or speaking, conversing with the minister throughout is Miss Abigail Ellis, who works with the ministry, well, at the time, I'm not sure if she's still there, with the Ministry of MIT. Right? And so I see all of that already. So he's offering the residents, he's offering them water. As soon as the tank go up, everybody will be getting access to running water. Now let us remember, they are all squatters, whether they're on the Lime side or they on the BBC side or the tourist belt side. They are all squatters. And I had a conversation with a lady, and as she told me, no one told her except for when she got notices to move. And she did get a few notices. She doesn't have a structure there. She's doing agriculture, but she was beginning to put a structure when she got notice. Now, let's hear the MP on the water tax.
Let's stay right here. Don't go past here. Yeah, let's stay right here. Yeah. All right, let's just stay by in front here. Come here. The other. Yeah. And then you go there.
Excuse me, please, sorry. That's okay.
Call Prime Minister.
I don't know that.
Send back close to him. I'll be on the phone when I call him.
Tell him we're up here.
Shem, you ready?
Just make sure you watch him. Before you turn your back, make sure you watch him. Before you finish speaking.
Yes. Hello.
Minister, there's a child here as well.
Ah, sorry. Right, so on this side here, on this side up here, that's where we are going to put a 500,000 gallon tank.
Wow.
A big tank.
Wow.
What we did first of all was to do this backward here, this retaining wall, and we make it backfill here to create a flat surface so that we can put the tank.
The minister, I don't know if you guys heard, wanted to call over the Prime Minister, who lives right there on the ridge. Right there on the ridge. Now, just a couple of 100 yards away from where the whole mess is happening, right? So, but he said Abigail was using his phone, so he couldn't call him, but he was going to call him over. Now, if you zoom in on this photo on the screen right now, you see where the tanks are, or where they're going to be erected, I should say, and you will see structures in the distance. Those are the structures, some of the structures that has to be removed or demolished, right? Look at where they did the work, the preparing of the place for the tanks. And you can see the structure in the distance, right? That has to be demolished. Didn't the authorities, the people from the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Nawasa, the minister, because the minister was supposed to go and check the project. Even the Prime Minister should go up to see, because it's a big project, right? That post the minister made there was done on June the 20th, 2025. Almost a year ago, by MP Andy Williams. So I had a conversation with one of the squatters in a big way, and she's also on the ridge. The story goes, since 2008, she identified a little area, cut the bushes. She said that there was a high woods. They took 2 weeks to clear the area, and they planted crops and fruits and stuff like that. I think she started a structure one time. It for some reason it didn't happen, but she maintained the agricultural aspect of it. She made applications through the Ministry of Lands to purchase a piece of land in 2013. When the LNP administration came in office, she got notice to leave the area. In the meantime, she made several applications for the lands through the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands to purchase the lands. At least 5 times she made applications because the applications apparently just disappear inside there. You know, they always have some kind of thing with who won the land for who, and so the application, not just her. Well, you heard one of the ladies spoke about to get the land, you have to stay on the land. If not, somebody else would take it or they would give it away. So still with just agriculture and 2 water tanks on the land, she continued to apply for the land up to 2022 election. She's still applying. At some point before the 2022 election, she met Peter David, who was then the Minister of Agriculture and Lands. She explained what she wanted to do and the situation. And as Minister for Agriculture and Lands, he put on to a Mr. Sinclair at the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands. Mr. Sinclair made 2 appointments to meet with her. They were supposed to meet up on the Wall Street. She went both times. He never showed up. And then he disappeared. Not sure if he was fired, if he retired, or if he left the job. Then she was put onto a Mr. Skerritt that she communicated with until 2022. She being a strong supporter of the NDC, and from the South, walked the South with Minister Andy Williams during the campaign. That's how close and how strong and how much he supports the NDC. Campaign on the ground with Andy Williams to help bring home the seat, the victory in the South, right? So I guess she thought it would have been a 1, 2, 3 procedure to reach the MP and to get started with this house. It turned out it took 365 days and counting before she was able to connect with the MP. She had to go to his office because he wasn't answering his phone. Eventually, she went to his office, and after several times not seeing him, one day she left what she called a stinging message. I guess he understood the message, and before the end of that day, she got a call from him. She met with him. She explained what she wanted to do, where she was going to put the house. She is actually in boundary, basically, with the area they have that big tank up there. She is in boundary, which is on the ridge. She is on the ridge, right? After that conversation, she went to see him, and he put her on to Abigail Ellis, an officer at the Ministry of MIT. She met with Abigail Ellis. They discussed her request. She needed support to build her house at Guankai. Miss Abigail Ellis asked her if she had a contractor. She said yes, she did. She could have. She had access to one. The contractor was sent into MIT, where he was given a check of $50,000 to change. He was to keep 20,000 and bring back 30,000 to the ministry, which he did in an envelope. Handed it to Miss Abigail Ellis. Miss Ellis wrote his name on the envelope and kept the envelope. He left. Whatever they had to do, we'll get the material. I don't know if they needed to draw, whatever they needed to do. Took a little while. And just when she started, they did, I think, the pillars and the frame of the building. The Ministry of Agriculture and Lands stopped them. And so she was building a wooden structure, though, right? And she was stopped by the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands. She told the gentleman that, and that is Mr. Skerritt, that it was the Ministry of MIT that was building for her. That changed things a bit, and the Skerrit had to take care of things on his end, he said, meet with planning authority, and he would get back to her, but he never did. One day she saw someone accidentally from planning, from physical planning, who told her the meeting was held and the BS at MIT gave the okay for her to continue building her house. She's on the ridge, don't forget that. Yet the minister for MIT said he never knew that they were on the ridge, and he never gave anybody the okay on the ridge. But she got monies from MIT to build on the ridge, right? Here is Minister Andy in the ladies' room.
I have to be straight with you unless you know that I cannot help you to go against what the ministry is saying.
Because they even were saying that the minister said to go build there.
That's the same place there?
Yes.
That's a lie. I mean, the place that they want to move now, I mean, that's a lie. I mean, listen, if anyone knows me, I will never tell someone to go and build in a place where I know it's a no-no. And that's a lie. That's all I have to say for that. And I will not listen. Any one of the residents, you can speak to any one of the residents there, and this will tell you that's a lie. Yeah.
Okay. So apparently Mrs. Skerrit was given the order and he never passed it on. So when the client, for want of a better word, contacted him to say, well, she saw the people from planning and they said he got the orders to pass on to her that she can continue. So she spoke to him. He said he had some other things to take care of before he could give her the okay to continue. But before that happened, Skerrit was fired and they brought back Sinclair. Sinclair returned. She again tried contacting Andy and it took a while. She eventually met with him and he then put her on to another person, a Miss Emma at the office. Miss Emma started to give her the runaround, basically like everyone else. And the main reason she said she had to speak to the minister, Andy. So the individual said, well, she told Miss Emma, Mr. Williams, the minister put me on to you. He sent me to you. So why you have to see him? Right? It's just like spinning top in mud. Then she was in touch with Miss Penny, the minister's assistant, who visited the site. And whoever Miss Penny was with, she heard Miss Penny saying to the person that she would have to move because she was too close to the area of the tank. That was the reason she would have to move. Probably move a little further in. And that was the last time she heard from anyone, be it from MIT or the Ministry of Agriculture. She visited the Ministry of Agriculture several times. She spoke during that time when the Minister P.S. Isaac Bagwan was there. She had some document that Mr. Bagwan signed. When she spoke to him, he said he didn't sign it. She had to bring it for him to see. When she brought it for him to see, he didn't remember signing it. And it was like he didn't understand what he was supposed to do as permanent secretary in that ministry. But speaking to persons involved with that ministry, I was told that they don't know what they have to do. The ministry is in chaos and you can't get nothing done in a short space of a time. Everything drags on for years because they have no clue what they are doing. Now, my thing is, and I guess they would have to move because it's said that they can't stay on the ridge and they're not supposed to build on the ridge. With somebody put a sign somewhere, or when these people decide they're squatting and they go to the ministry, please find out where they're going to be putting up their structure. Don't allow them to spend monies that they really don't have to build. And then you tell them they cannot stay there. You tell them they cannot stay there, right? Here is Minister Andy Williams in the ladies' room again.
I went to the Ministry of Agriculture and said, hey, I want us to go and rectify the situation in Guankai. We know some people have been there a long time. That's on the side that the ministry has been lenient on. So let us give let's survey the land. Let's give the people the title, because what I gather is that some people up there, even they are scared. They don't know when someone will come and ask them to move. So at least if you give them the title, then someone can have more,
some form of security.
Exactly. And not just that too, but if you have to elevate people from the poverty level, and they start with land, and they can own the land, and they can use the land to help their children for school education, etc. So now they can use the land for collateral in case they want to invest into something. And the ministry agreed that we will.
Now, at the middle of the Guankai, the road leads to BBC Beach, I was told. I was reliably informed that a senator on the opposite side of the government in the upper house is squatting on that land as well, in that area that whatever looking over BBC, connected to BBC. He has a squatter's house, I should say, because he doesn't live in the house, right? It's concrete down below, downstairs, and wood upstairs. It's a 2-story building. He doesn't live in it, but members of his faith occupies the house periodically. Question for who even gave out the letter: was the senator a recipient of the letters to be evicted as well? I was further informed that the senator has trick plots, allegedly, of squatters' land. So I'm calling on the senator to come forward and explain the situation with him and the squatters' lands, whether he has title or not, because I was told everybody there is squatting, and he has a part concrete structure as well. Folks, what I conclude from the interacting with the individual that has whatever her agricultural project and then her little frame getting ready to build, is that the workers at the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands are responsible, partly, and the rest to the minister, to the MP in the area, for them being on that ridge there to this point, where some of them have built even concrete structures. There are those with a house with the bathroom, so the wooden house with the bathroom and toilet concreted. The MIT built a couple of houses up in there, right? And so we watch this unfold. They promise to keep me up to date with what is going on. I do empathize with them, because as I can tell at what I've been hearing, that they would probably eventually have to move from there, because they do not want squatters overlooking the hotel belt. They don't want squatting there. Are they going to sell the lands there? And so persons with bigger, fancier structures can occupy it? We wait and see. But Minister Andy Williams is clearly not speaking the truth. And he spoke about people using Guankai as for politicking. The one that's politicking, because he said before 2022 he never heard of Guankai. People never heard of Guankai. If the opposition, if the previous administration was using it as to politics, then persons would have heard of it. You the one went up, you promised them water, you promised them electricity, you gave them roads. Well, you finish up the roads. Right now you have solar lights, but you promised them electricity. The letter, you hiding, you didn't let people, but the letter is in Grand Lake with your signature. Right? And you said that when the water come up, they all will have access to water. So you're not speaking the truth, and but it's nothing new. Folks, we out of time as usual. Sorry for my being lethargic today. There's a story. However, that's a wrap on today's episode of Simon Says. It's always a pleasure conversing with you, trying to keep them honest. Thank you for viewing yet another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. See you next week, same time, same place. Bye now. And don't forget, a better Grenada is possible. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.